Welcome, my name is Matt Mead. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for SPR, and today we're talking about leadership and soft skills. And we'll be pulling in insights from our technology industry survey. So I'm excited to have Melissa McElroy and Mike Saccotelli, both directors from our solution delivery group at SPR. Welcome.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
In our survey, we asked 400 business and IT professionals an array of questions about their technology organization. And we're using the answers to those questions to build our technology leadership forecast. So starting off, one question that I wanted to ask right out of the gate is about proficiency in a variety of skills. Something I found interesting from our survey was that leading organizations actually rate the highest around leadership, and they rank leadership higher than other tech skills that are really hot right now, like cloud, data, and machine learning, for example. And it makes me wonder, and Mike, I'll direct this question to you, when you think about tech skills versus soft skills, what's the right balance?
I mean, I think ultimately in the end, like having a good balance between the two is key. I think finding soft skills in technologists is often the struggle. So I think organizations that do well and lead well probably have a good strength, being able to communicate, whether it's interpersonal, written, however, because the goal is, as technologists, to kind of understand what a problem is. So you need to know how to speak to the business as well as kind of a dev team and things like that. So those organizations, I think, that kind of like excel and do well can kind of speak to both sides of the room.
So you're saying maybe, Mike, in some ways that maybe some of the secret sauce of the leading organizations is not necessarily the tech skills, but it's the coupling of the tech skills with good soft skills and leadership skills.
Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of it has to be like, you can find a lot of smart people, but it's hard to find smart people that can necessarily communicate what they want to do or what they're trying to do with, not, people that kind of understand the jargon.
So I'm curious, Melissa, if there's an example of this. When we think of strong leadership, business acumen, or collaboration, are there examples where that was present on a project, or to the contrary, an example where it wasn't present?
Absolutely. I think when you see business acumen being brought into a technology project, I mean, that's really kind of the pinnacle of perfection when you come to delivery. You have technologists who aren't just creating features like from kind of standing away from the project, they're actually involved. They can actually bring ideas to the table that may actually improve the business processes. On the flip side, the business users who are, the experts in all of the ways that they work, they also feel more comfortable as they're getting involved in the delivery of the technology. So when it gets rolled out, they've been involved in the entire process, they understand what's coming, it ends up being a better adoption process.
It's really evident from what you've both shared that organizations are placing a very high emphasis and importance on leadership skills. So I'm wondering, what advice would you give in an organization that's looking to improve, and where should they invest the training and development funds?
I kind of think, when talking about leadership, it kind of covers a broad range of skills and abilities. And I think ultimately, honestly, they're probably talking a lot about culture. And I think, strong leadership enables an organization to kind of embrace new ideas and trusting their people to kind of solve problems on their own with giving them the latitude to fail. Failure ultimately in the end is probably what's driving a lot of organizations to innovate, learning from mistakes, and kind of taking that to the next step is kind of more the seed of innovation. So I think strong leadership or organizations that demonstrate strong leadership probably are ones where leaders are demonstrating that themselves. So like in an organization, the culture and the employees are going to follow suit with how the leaders behave. So if they can see and understand that when a team fails that they're not punished, but they're, given the latitude to learn and grow from there, then those organizations, they ultimately flourish in the end. So, failure isn't necessarily a bad thing. Punishment of failure can be, where that will cause like deadlocks, people being afraid to do something. So if you're given the latitude to do that, and kind of go forward and learn new things and actually be more innovative in the market.
So I think that's really interesting, Mike, that you're tying together some concepts that I hadn't previously thought of together, that by emphasizing leadership skills and allowing people to fail, you're driving innovation.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, one, strong leadership is like walking the walk for your company. So I find, giving people the, the empowerment to do what they need to do ultimately will help them do their job and ultimately grow the organization. It gives people the ability to grow up within the organization, learn more skills, take on new roles, and come up with new ideas and fresh ideas. And not all ideas are going to work, but in the end, you're going to probably strike more gold than not, and you can kind of go from there.
We know there are a ton of talented technologists in the marketplace, but when you work with a customer, what skills do you think set companies apart? And say, for example, what do you do at SPR that you think differentiates you from other competent technologists?
So I think kind of the point there is technologists, we're all very smart. We all kind of know technology. I think what sets us apart in a lot of ways is how we approach customers' problems and situations. Me personally at SPR, I like to make sure I kind of go in and discuss what the root of the problem is and not even bring technology in right away. A lot of technologists will kind of lead with the tool that's going to solve the problem and not really get to the root cause of why this is going to help them. So my philosophy is to understand what the business issue is, kind of understand the problem at a holistic level, and then once you kind of know what the root cause is, introduce technologies that might help solve the problem or augment it. And that may not just, the tool isn't just the solution. There could be processes, there could be other obstacles in place that if you don't remove those, that this technology solution won't really be helpful at all. I mean, building a React app or introducing a new AWS technology, while it may in the end get to where they need to get there, if they haven't solved other issues or mitigating factors, it may not be successful in the end.
Gotcha. So essentially what I think I'm hearing is you're approaching a client engagement first holistically, trying to figure out what are the business needs. And then once you've figured that out, you can go ahead and work with your team to address the technologies that would be appropriate.
Yes, yeah. I mean, understanding what a business is doing and what they're trying to accomplish is key.
So when we look at the survey data, we see that 43% of respondents strongly agree that strong leadership is required to execute a technology vision. In your opinion, how closely is an IT department's success linked to the strength of its leaders?
I think it's very important. I think it's the leader's job to have the holistic vision. I think a good IT leader has expert in different areas, whether it be security, infrastructure, whatever it may be. They're letting those folks bring their knowledge to the table, but the leader's the one who's really bringing the ideas and the thoughts together so that the users can have a cohesive, positive experience, and the development and operation teams can have a consistent approach to how they handle technology as well.
So Melissa, this reminds me a bit of what we talk about inside SPR about what we need to do and how we need to do it. And a lot of times leaders will put out what we need to do, but allow the other folks in the organization to decide how to do it, to have some ownership. Is this a big part of a successful IT strategy in your opinion?
I think so. I think as a leader, delegation is important, and as a leader, you aren't the expert in everything. So being able to leverage your team and foster, thought leadership and creative ideas and thinking, it's important. It's not just the success of that leader, but the entire team.
So I imagine that cross-functional buy-in is incredibly important when it comes to technology initiatives. What should leaders do to communicate up and across the organization?
I do think it's important to have the cross-functional buy-in, just because if different parts of the organization are doing different things and everyone isn't being kind of cohesive, moving forward in the same direction, you're going to have trouble. I think the leaders, delegation, dissemination of information, they don't have to be solely responsible for carrying that message alone, leveraging champions and team leads to help them deliver that message, and also making sure that their managers are having a consistent message. It's not just sharing a message, it's having the same message go across. I also realize that different organizations have different cultures on what works for communication. Some folks like to have big meetings, other ones, emails go over well. So I think it's also important for folks to pick the proper mode of communication to make sure the message is delivered.
So I want to thank you, Melissa and Mike. This has been a really interesting conversation, and I think some of the key takeaways for me were, number one, that it's not just about IT skills, the technical skills. While they are critically important, as you pointed out, Mike, the leadership skills are even more important in some respects to set the tone. Melissa, you also talked about how leaders may set the what, we need to get done, but you're going to allow others within the organization, maybe lower in the organization, to figure out how we're going to do that to make sure you get that buy-in. Thank you for joining me here today.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Matt.
Matt.